Welcome to the Sound of Resistance. The recent victories of the Ukrainian armed forces in the northeast in Ukraine have shown that the help of the Western allies was not in vain. The Russian army has been crushed by US weapons since June, and the Ukrainian counterattacks launched in Kherson later expanded to Kharkiv and Donbas. The strength of the Ukrainian armed forces, which is growing day by day, is reducing the resistance of the Russians, but they also need regular support. Close air support was of great importance in the success of the Ukrainian army against the invading Russian troops. Although the Ukrainian Air Force has much more limited opportunities compared to the Russian Air Force, they have produced excellent solutions to provide close air support. Ukraine has achieved this by adapting to the possibilities of developing technology. Of course, the support of their allies that gave them this opportunity was very effective in achieving this. The Ukraine-Russian war once again shown that high-cost fighter jet aircraft are no longer the only element that armies will use to provide close air support to ground combat forces. Drones have a growing popularity in providing close air support to ground armies. These war machines, which cost much less than reconnaissance and warplanes, provide incredible support to ground troops and artillery missile forces behind the front. The Ukrainian army used the drones supplied from Turkey and the USA very actively in its defense against the invading Russians. This gave them a great frontal advantage, but also allowed them to seize the psychological advantage. Now every invading soldier in Ukraine feels the whistling sound of Bayraktar TB2 drone in their ears. Despite this, Ukraine needs more against the superpower in Russia. The USA has made it clear that its support to Ukraine still continues with the aid package it has recently released. The United States announced a new $600 million arms package for Ukraine. The aid is expected to include ammunition, including HIMARS ammunition, and funding for military education and training. This military aid package came to us with the agreement that a new weapon would be delivered to Ukraine. The USA has signed a contract for Scan Eagle UAVs planned to supply to Ukraine. The US Navy has signed a contract with Boeing to purchase additional Blackjack and Scan Eagle UAVs. The deal was signed with a subsidiary of Boeing Institute for $191 million. By June 2026, 13 RQ-21A Blackjacks and 25 Scan Eagles had been delivered. In August, it was learned that US President Joe Biden authorized the transfer of 15 Scan Eagles to Ukraine. Scan Eagle was built on the basis of the Sea-Scan UAV, a commercial drone designed to monitor fish. The main task of drones is to provide aerial reconnaissance and assist artillery and other military forces in target identification. The endurance of the drone can reach 24 hours, depending on the configuration of the system. The flight range is 100 kilometers. The drone can go up to 139 km per hour. With the dispatch of these unmanned aerial vehicles to the region, it is estimated that the precision of the missile fires of HIMARS will increase. These unmanned aerial vehicles, which can undertake flawless tasks in terms of intelligence gathering, can achieve great things in the hands of Ukrainian engineers who have been using Bayraktar TB2 unmanned aerial vehicles since the first day of the war. This support to the Ukrainian armed forces will make an important contribution as much as HIMARS ammunition. As the US rushed to more arms to fuel Kiev's successful counterattack in the east of the country, the Biden administration announced a new $600 million weapons package to help the Ukrainian military fight Russia. The package will contain more of the same type of ammunition and equipment that helped Ukrainian forces push back Russian forces in the eastern and southern regions. In a statement, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, "The Ukrainian people are defending their homeland and fighting for their future with admirable courage and determination. The capabilities we offer are carefully tuned to make the most difference on the battlefield and strengthen Ukraine's hand at the negotiating table when the time comes." The decision to start new aid quickly after nearly $2.9 billion in aid and funding announced last week and more than $3 billion in aid announced at the end of August underscores the United States' intent to ensure Ukraine can continue the striking counteroffensive. Within a few days, Ukrainian troops had recaptured almost the entire Kharkiv region and significantly repulsed the Russian army. Moscow's latest debacle in northeastern Ukraine was its biggest military defeat since the withdrawal of Russian troops from areas near Kyiv more than 5 months ago. Joe Biden gave the latest aid using the Presidential Withdrawal Authority, which allows the president to allow the transfer of surplus weapons from U.S. stockpiles. The White House said it was the 21st time the U.S. Defense Department has pulled weapons and other equipment from shelves for delivery to Ukraine. Since the start of the war, Washington has sent approximately $15.1 billion in security aid to the Kyiv government. Thanks to this figure, the victory of Ukraine, which developed step by step, was clinched. It included $2.2 billion in long-term military financing for Ukraine and its 18 neighbors, announced during a Blinken visit to Ukraine last week, and the $675 million weapons package announced by Europe's Defense Minister Lloyd Austin the same day. Experts said the latest aid package is expected to fund military training as well as include ammunition for howitzers, including higher mobility artillery rocket systems and ammunition. Very clear statements are coming from the USA in this regard. The senior US general warned on Sunday that it remains unclear how Russia will respond to recent battlefield setbacks in Ukraine and urged US troops to be more vigilant while visiting a base in Poland assisting Ukraine. The remarks of US Army General Mark Milley, who became Chief of Staff, were a reminder of the risks of intensifying the conflict with the US and NATO allies remotely assisting Ukraine and Kiev's so far successful response. The war is not going very well for Russia at the moment. Therefore, it is up to all of us to maintain a state of high preparedness and alertness, Milley said in a statement in Warsaw after his base visit. Milley reviewed the base's air defenses, including Patriot missile batteries, which will be the last line of defense should Russia decide to attack the base. Milley did not suggest that US troops in Europe are under increased threat, but said they should be ready. Milley was also briefed on the critical support provided to Ukraine by US forces at the base, including remote maintenance assistance via secure teleconference for billions of dollars in US-provided weapons. Some members of a repair team, about 50 people, showed reporters images of damaged weapons supplied by the US, including the M777 howitzer, long considered out of repair scope in the West. The Ukrainians managed to bring these weapons back into battle thanks to the guidance of the US forces and their manufacturing prowess that has allowed Kiev to reverse engineer spare parts. Since the start of the program in June, more than a dozen teleconference channels have been established with more than 100 Ukrainian people. However, about 7 months after the invasion of Russian forces, priority support is given to M777s and highly mobile artillery rocket systems, which are the center of Ukraine's counterattack. The defeat of Russian President Vladimir Putin's forces in the Kharkiv region of northeastern Ukraine a week ago has drawn unusually strong public criticism from Russian military commentators. For the first time, Putin may be feeling stumped, because the voice of the critics is getting louder day by day and their pessimism is increasing. However, there are a few frightening points. Putin claims to have fended off the counterattack, but said on Friday that Moscow would respond more forcefully if its troops were put under more pressure. Such repeated threats have raised concerns that at some point it may devolve into small nuclear weapons, chemical warfare, or perhaps mobilize the reserves of Russia, which has nearly 2 million men in military service over the past 5 years. Even if it seems difficult for Putin to convince his people about the military, there are fears that he will resort to nuclear. Russian government officials dismissed Western predictions that Moscow would use tactical nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Pressure from the Ukrainian armed forces puts Putin in a corner and could cause him to go even more crazy. Concerns are shared on this issue, and we all hope that this will not be allowed.